and I'm still borrowing. Are you in here?
No, I just wanted to be in the video.
Okay. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning. Ambrose is here. Okay.
And that you can stay.
There you go.
What's up, Ambrose?
All right. So yesterday, did I talk about Sacco and Vanzetti?
Yeah, you did.
And what was the moral of the story?
They were actually really guilty.
Don't trust everything I say because I could be wrong. Okay? Don't trust what the news says because they could be wrong or have an agenda. It could be biased. Yes?
Yes.
So you should check multiple news sources. Yes? And so forth. Now, the fact that I've been teaching this for 27 years, I know it pretty well, but I do make mistakes. Okay? So, we're going to move on. I mean, guys, we got pretty dark here. Labor union violence, right? Race riots. Yes. We had bombs. We had terrorism. What else do we have? Well, we had the KKK. We had xenophobia. Yes. All of this, which did not culminate in the execution of 2 innocent immigrants, but 2 guilty immigrants. Okay. Now, let's move on to something a little more spirited. What do you say? Yeah.
Please.
Like alcohol.
That was good. Spirited? Yeah. I get it.
I'll be here the rest of the week. Okay.
Spirits is alcohol.
Spirits. Wine and spirits is alcohol.
That actually is funny.
Yes.
He's just cracking back.
Okay.
That's like a dad joke you'd see on like Facebook.
Probably did see on Facebook.
I did not. I made it up myself.
He makes up the jokes on Facebook.
Okay.
Joke maker.
So this is one of the dumbest things our nation ever did. Okay. If you're not aware, we have 27 amendments. Okay, and it's difficult to pass an amendment. I'll teach you this in government class, but I'll go ahead and tell you now. In order to pass a constitutional amendment, you have to propose one. And all 27 amendments have been proposed by 2/3 majority of both houses of Congress. That's difficult to get 2/3 of Congress to agree on anything. Then you've got to get 3/4 of the states to agree. That would be 38 states today. Okay, now back this time, Hawaii and Alaska were not states yet, so we had to have 34 states of 48. Okay. By the way, do you know what year Hawaii and Alaska became states? 50 what? Not 51.
57. 4. 53.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
59.
59. 1959. Guys.
See, you're the right.
So, listen, this was a really bad idea. It did not turn out well. But Kansas already had prohibition. Some states prohibited alcohol before the constitutional amendment banned it nationally. Okay, now, if we're going to do something this stupid, we should try and figure out who are the people that really were pushing for this, so we can blame them. Who was really pushing? Who?
Women.
Oh, Ambrose says women.
It's always.
So this would be called, there was a group known as the Women's Temperance Movement. Yes? I don't know, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Okay? The Women's Temperance Movement really sprang into action because, you know, for many Americans, the men of the household were the breadwinners. You guys know what that means, breadwinner? Okay. They, you know, a lot of times women weren't working back in the day. And so the men would, you know, work hard and get paid. And then what would they do with the hard-earned money they made? They'd go buy, you know, they'd go to the saloon or the tavern, whatever, and get drunk and waste a bunch of money on that. And then come home drunk and beat their wives and children. And the women got tired of this. This is the devil's juice. Okay? And if you drink alcohol in excess, sometimes you do not very smart things. Is that true? If you get drunk, sometimes you make mistakes. Yes? Okay. So the women were tired of this. But you know who else was behind this? I had it up on the board for a while. It's an acronym, four letters. Yeah, WASPs. Yeah. These Protestants. These Protestants, you know what I mean? They think it's the devil's juice as well. Now, were there some Catholics that supported prohibition? Sure. But really, it's the Protestants. And, yes, the women's temperance movement. But let me ask you this. How many women were serving in Congress in 1919 that proposed this amendment? Zero. So you can blame the men for listening to their wives. Yes? Or another way of putting this is Adam not without fault that he listened to Eve? He is at fault, yes? Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of people to blame, right? In this very bad decision. Because, guys, think about this. More than half the population drank alcohol. Not all of them in excess. You follow me? So you're going to create a whole group of people that are now going to be criminals. I asked second hour this question, okay? A few years ago, the United States Congress passed a national law saying that you had to be 21 years old to buy tobacco products, okay? Now, my son told me he graduated in 2019 from here. And my son told me, he said, Dad, you would be shocked how many kids are vaping in the school. Maybe not in the school, but that students at our school that vape. And he's like, Dad, it's over half. Now, I asked second hour this. I'm not going to get you in trouble. I mean, what percentage of the senior class would you say vape? 15%?
15 to 20.
Okay, that's down. Yeah, they said they thought about 20%. Okay, the ones that would answer me. So that's down from when my son was here, which is good. Okay, but that 15, 20% of the senior class that does vape, they're breaking the law. Yes? Okay, so when Congress passed that law, you already had people that were smoking or using tobacco in some form of fashion. Okay, you had a segment of the population that when they passed that law, they were already 18 and they were legally allowed to buy tobacco, and then you just made them a criminal. And by the way, nicotine is by one of the most addictive substances we have. They say it's as addictive as heroin. Okay, so they didn't grandfather these people in. They just, I guess they expected people to quit cold turkey. All right, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds were expected to quit cold turkey. Now, when they did the alcohol thing for the age change from 18 to 21, they grandfathered people in. So my sister was 19. She was legally allowed to drink at 18, okay? And she could still drink, even though they changed it to 21. I was 17 when they changed the law. Hi, how you doing? I'm swell. Okay. So I had to wait 4 years to legally drink. That makes sense. So what this did was it created a whole new class of criminals. All right. So what this prohibited was the manufacture, the transportation of, the sale of, and the consumption of alcoholic beverages. Okay. In case you're wondering, there was an exception for Mass. Okay, so Catholic priests were allowed to have wine for Mass. Okay. Now, you guys help me out. We had a big, was this class we had a little?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Okay, so help me out. Because like when we have mass at school, we don't have wine. We have just the wafer, right? Communion wafer. Yes? Okay. At mass, other masses, do they have wine?
Yes.
Real wine?
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
The percentage is pretty high on it too.
Claire's trying to get the link.
Oh, yeah.
so-
Oh, yeah.
So if you're underage, you can do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you, communion you have to wait for, after, you go through confirmation?
No, second grade.
Second grade, okay, second grade. Okay. So, second grade,
We're giving second.
all right.
What
Interesting.
What good Catholics?
So, yeah, at my church, you know what it is? Grape juice. Protestants. Grape juice.
Weak.
Okay, yeah, weak, exactly. Yeah. We need some fermentation going on here. But anyhow, yeah, so there was an exception for that. Now, Kansas had already had prohibition. Now, how many guys have heard of Carrie Nation? Okay, this is shocking to me that you guys don't know this name. That I don't know who your history teachers were, like in middle school or whatever, but Carrie Nation is a famous Kansan. She was a prohibitionist, and she was angry about alcohol. And so famously in the state of Kansas, she would go to tavern, bar to bar with a freaking hatchet. And she would go in there and just like destroy bottles of liquor and tear places up. So famously at the Eaton Hotel in Wichita, which is still there, there was a bar on the first floor. And famously, Janity, Carrie Nation, Carrie Nation went in there.
Better not
and-
let this video get out.
all right, it's going public, okay? Yeah, so Carrie Nation went in there and just ripped the place apart, and she became very famous. So that's part of Kansas history as well. So in order to convince the American people to do this, you can see this happens with a wartime Congress. So they're going to use the war as an excuse to do something like that, okay? Not besides just being the devil's juice and so forth. So they're going to give the American people some reasons why we're doing this. Okay, so for the war effort, we need to conserve grain. I don't know if you guys have any family members that like try brewing their own beer type of stuff. Okay, so I mean, you need barley and hops and grain. I don't know what all goes into a beer. I've never made it, but obviously there's other alcohol as well besides. You know what I mean? So we're going to conserve grain. Now we're at war with the Germans, yes? Yeah. Now we import beer from Germany. We still do today. Wine from Italy and France and so forth, champagne. So this is one way to stick to the Germans. And the other thing is, we have some xenophobia here of Germans as well, especially during the war. And a lot of Germans moved to places like Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and St. Louis, Missouri, and started brewing beer, starting breweries, in the United States. They brought that knowledge with them over from the old country, and they started making beer here, like Miller Brewing Company, Anheuser-Busch. Obviously, those are two of the big ones we have today. So this would be a good way to stick it to the Germans, or the Krauts, if you will, at the time. Which is a slur. If you didn't know.
It's called sauerkraut.
Well, yes. Well, it's German. Okay, so you like that stuff? It's so disgusting. Now I love German sausage, bratwurst, right? That sort of thing. All that stuff. But I ain't putting no sauerkraut on it. That stuff. Okay. All right. And of course, sober and clear-headed soldiers for work. Yes. During the war, especially, this is important. It's all for the war effort. So that's kind of the excuse they give here. Okay. But even before the war, half the states have gotten rid of it. Now, guys, I went to college in North Florida, which we call LA. lower Alabama. And the county I went to college in, this is the late 80s, was a dry county. They didn't have alcohol. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the state of Kansas, there are still some dry counties. And we did not allow alcohol sales on Sunday until about, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. You could not buy alcohol on Sundays in the state of Kansas. Okay, it's just kind of a holdover from, the Bible Belt era. You know what I mean? And they still have limits. I mean, liquor stores have hours they have to stick by. I think it's 11 p.m. on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday. Yeah.
Why do you know that?
Yeah, because you can't buy it after that time. Yeah. Which they now have alcohol in the grocery store, which was kind of a big deal. In Kansas, you know who really didn't want that? The liquor store owners. They don't want you to be able to go to Dillon's and buy a beer. They want you to have to go to the liquor store. And every state's kind of different on that. You know what I mean? Like you go down to Louisiana, you can buy a freaking big old jug of Jim Beam at the grocery store. You know what I mean? You can't do that in Kansas. Okay, can't even buy. They don't sell wine in Kansas in the grocery store because the alcohol content is high. So yeah, in some states, at the grocery store, the convenience store, most beers like around 5% alcohol. They sell 3.2 beer. Like it's got less alcohol. So you go to the convenience store, you buy a 30-pack, it's 3.2% alcohol. You got to drink like 40 of them to get drunk. You know what I mean? So I'm drinking water. Okay, whatever. Anyhow.
So I take it you don't get convenience store beer?
Oh, well, in Kansas, I think it's 5. You can buy it. In Kansas, it's the same. At Dillon's or the liquor store. My beer has no, I'm good. I don't need to talk about that. Okay. All right. So, guys, there's still demand, right? There's still demand for alcohol. In fact, guys, because it's illegal, it makes it a little more fun to do. You know that rebellious nature that people have, yes? Teenagers. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. If I were to put a map, the United States up here on the board, okay? Let's just say this square is the United States. And I start in Washington State. And I trace my finger across the Canadian border, up to Maine, down the East Coast, around Florida, around Texas, all the way around the left coast to California, back up to Washington State. How many miles is that of border or coastline? Anybody heard this statistic before? 18,000 miles. Okay? That's what our border and coastline encompasses. Now, we're going to hire 1,520 agents to prevent that illegal alcohol from coming in our ports or across our border. How's that going to work? Not very good, right? It's going to be hard to enforce. And guys, there's demand for alcohol. So, I mean, in Canada, they don't have prohibition. Mexico, they didn't have prohibition. So it's like a legal drug trade today. Are we able to prevent all the illegal drugs from getting into the country? No. Now, I don't know if you guys heard about this yesterday. See it in the news?
We hit that ship.
There was a boat coming out of Venezuela. Okay, I think there were like 9 people, maybe 11 people on it, and they had a bunch of drugs. And we have designated drug cartels as terrorist organizations. And since we have done that, we can treat them differently. Just blew it up. Didn't stop the boat, didn't search the boat. We knew what was on the boat. Military went, boom, blew it up. That's new. That's new, okay? Now, here's the thing. We're the consumers. There's high demand for illegal drugs in the United States today. There's demand for heroin. There's demand for cocaine. There's demand for marijuana. There's a demand for ecstasy, different drugs, okay? And so where there's demand, there's money to be made. Do you have to pay tariffs on those to bring illegal drugs into the country? Tariffs? No, it's not taxed. There's no tax. Okay, so you're making full profit on it. Okay, so there's millions, billions of dollars to be made off the American consumer of illegal drugs. And just back here then, you have hundreds of millions to be made on bringing liquor into the country. Okay, and, well, as we already discussed, you can make your own stuff. So when it's illegal, you come up with different names for it. Like when we talk about marijuana, okay, which is actually called cannabis, all right, cannabis, marijuana, we've got other names for it, like weed, pot, grasshopper, Mary Jane, devil's lettuce.
That's crazy.
Ganja or ganj.
I like how he does this.
I've been around. Okay, so moonshine, right? Booze, bathtub gin. Start coming up with all these different names, okay, for the illegal alcohol. Now, I've had students in the past who had grandpas and grandmothers that had a farm.
And it was, they like made Templeton.
Templeton rye on the farm, on the still, yeah, with the still, yeah. I've had students, yeah. So the great grandparents, yeah, yeah. And obviously, you know, the people. I think there's a History Channel has a thing called Moonshiners or something like a
My
TV
dad
show.
loves that show.
Yeah, so they're still making it, right? But anyhow, so what's going to happen there is you're going to make your own stuff. There's high demand, okay? In the big cities, guys, like Chicago, New York, you're going to have turf. Like, we control the alcohol trade in this part of the city. This might be the Italians, okay? The Polish may control another part of the city. The Jews, another part of the city. The Irish, another part. You know what I'm saying? So if you sold alcohol on somebody else's turf, you can't call the Federal Trade Commission. You know what I mean? You take the law into your own hands. And this became very violent because there's millions of dollars to be made here. Okay? There is very high demand. Because people like to drink. They still do. Now, alcohol consumption in the United States, we talked about this the other day, is like at a 50-year low. Maybe a 70-year low. Like since the 1950s. Okay? And part of the reason is more people are choosing to smoke pot instead of drink. Okay, and that might be one of the reasons. There's probably other reasons as well. Like your generation is different than previous generations, mainly because of these. Okay, so we isolate ourselves more than we used to. And since we are not as social as we used to be, what do you do when you get together with friends? You know, a lot of people, you know what I mean? A lot of times they'll drink together. You know, it's called social drinking. And I have a couple of teacher friends here that don't drink a lot, but when they get together with us, with the friends, you know, they'll have some drinks, but normally they don't drink. Okay? That's called social drinker, right? Does that make sense? So you may be seeing more of that today than in previous years. So it's kind of interesting. This is going to turn into a great source of wealth and power in what becomes known as organized crime. So your drug cartels of today are organized crime. That's, you know, and what do they do with all that money? Now, one thing I just want to point out that the cartels in Mexico especially, over the last 4 years with human trafficking, made more money with human trafficking than they did with drug trade. Okay, I don't know if you know this or not, and I'm not trying to bash on President Biden or not, but what changed between Trump and Biden was simply this. If you show up at our border and you claim asylum, okay, Well, you have to have a reason for coming here. So, when we talk about our Vietnamese friends, okay, so like, if their parents fled communism on a boat, okay, from Vietnam, if they return back to Vietnam, they're going to be persecuted by their government. That's called political asylum. So we allowed Cubans that were trying to escape communism, Vietnamese people that are trying to escape communism to come here. If you're facing real persecution in your country, there is no such thing as economic asylum. But what the Biden administration said to the world was basically, if you show up at our border and claim asylum, we will let you into the country while you wait for a judge to hear your case for asylum. Okay, so if you showed up in 2024, your court case, because millions of people came in, your court case is 7 years from now, in 2031. So people flooded to our border. The cartels helped them get to the border. Now, if you want to sneak into the country, you could do that too. But most of the people that came actually looked for Border Patrol agents and said, I would like to claim asylum. And they said, okay, well, we got to fill out some paperwork and we'll let you into the country. That's what happened. The only policy change that Trump made was this. If you show up at our border and you claim asylum, you will remain in Mexico until a judge hears your case. And guess what? People stop coming. So, I mean, if you were from Nigeria, Russia, China, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're from. You show up at the border, we let you in. Not anymore. So people stop coming. Now you got to sneak into the country. So you need a coyote for that. Yes? You got to pay some money for that. A lot more money. So the cartels make huge bank on that. So we've cut into them there. Now Trump calls them a terrorist organization. I don't know if the Mexican government's going to work with us, but if they want to work with us, I mean, as a terrorist group, the United States military can get involved. And yeah, the cartels are very well armed and they have a lot of money. Okay, so we got to decide whether we want to get into a war with cartels.
Do you think cartel war, like a war with like the Mexican cartel, would be worse than like Al Qaeda?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, there's more of them. And they're yeah. I mean, Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. Yeah, I think it'd be worse. I mean, you think of the population centers of Mexico and the intermingling with the civilians, and I just, it could get ugly. But anyhow, all right. So, anybody have any idea? So this 1919, this starts. Anybody have any idea what year we finally said, you know what, this is stupid? How long we had prohibition? 1933. Okay, so we have this for almost 14 years. 14 years. Okay, we have prohibition. And, Chicago is probably the worst city. I've had students who had family members that were in the mob in Kansas City. The mob was kind of, any big city, you had organized crime. Yeah. But Chicago was really bad. That's Al Capone. I don't know if you guys heard of Al Capone. What? The Sopranos. Now, The Sopranos is post-prohibition, right? So their whole thing is trash collection in New York City. Now, think about how much trash New York City produces. So if you control the trash collection there, so if you try to pick up trash on my turf, that's where Tony Soprano gets involved. No. We control the trash pickup here. Don't try to compete with us. It's a TV show, The Sopranos. Never heard of it?
Picking up trash makes me.
Oh my gosh. Think about it. You have a neighborhood? You live in a neighborhood? Live out in the country? Well, some of us live in neighborhoods. There's 77 houses in my neighborhood, okay? And today, Thursday, the trash truck comes. And you know how much we have to pay for that each month? It's like $35 or something a month. Times 77. That's just one neighborhood. Think about the city of Wichita. There's a lot of movement. Now, for a while, the government did trash collection. Okay? And they privatized it. They said, we'll let private companies do this. Now, the government owns the landfill, I believe. But, so the trash companies have to pay to use the landfill. Yeah, and there's competition, right? And if you have more than one trash company picking up in Whispering Brook, where I live, okay, there's competition. It drives down the cost. And there's only like 2 people that use the other trash company. Okay, Waste Management dominates the marketplace in Wichita. But if you want to undercut Waste Management, do it for cheaper. Buy you some trucks, trash trucks, hire some garbage men, and go to work. Economic opportunity. Okay? All right, why are we talking about trash? We're talking about alcohol. Okay, so as far as transportation of alcohol goes, especially in the South, you're trying to run from the cops. The cops think you're transporting stuff illegally, so what do? You soup up your car engine, and you go really fast so you can outrun the cops. You have faster cars than the cops, so you can escape them. Yes? You guys ever seen the Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh, so good.
Okay. Well, and then when Prohibition went away in 1933, you had all these guys, these rednecks in the South, that had these really fast cars, but no reason to run from the cops. So they built these oval dirt tracks, and they started racing them. And it's the birth of a billion-dollar industry. Say it. NASCAR. You got any NASCAR fans in here? You guys know we have a speedway in Kansas City, Kansas Speedway. Any of you guys been to a race there? Okay, see, we have NASCAR fans. Did you have fun at the race? Yeah. Who's your favorite driver? You know any driver names? No? You got a favorite driver? We do not have any NASCAR fans in here. Okay. It's all right. I have friends that are. Side story? Side story? Okay. Cool, kind of cool story. All right. I've only been to one NASCAR. I've never been to Kansas Speedway. I should go. But I was about 25 years old, living in Pensacola, Florida, and I'm hanging out with some friends, and my buddy Van, okay, and I think I might have brought up Van before. He was the one that got the full ride, academic ride in Mississippi State, and yeah, that guy. Okay, so I'm hanging out with Van and some other friends, a couple girls, and we're like 25, and the race at Talladega is the next day. And it's about a 4-hour drive from Pensacola. It's like, why don't we go to the race? It's like 10 o'clock at night. All right, let's go to the race. So we pile in this car. There's like 5 of us. Pile in this car, drive overnight, pull into the infield about 6 a.m., sleep for a couple hours, and watch the race. It's fun. Well, my buddy Van is adopted. Okay? He had great adoptive parents. His older brother was adopted as well. And when Van got to about the age of 25, he started to look for his real parents, his biological parents. Okay? And he ended up tracking down his biological mother, who got pregnant with him at, I think, around the age of 15 or 16. Okay? And so she gave him up for adoption. Bless her, right? Well, she went on to have a life, and she got married and she had another family. And so Van reached out to her. Her last name was France. The founder of NASCAR is a guy named Bill. It's either French or France. I think it's French. Bill French. Okay? His biological mother married the guy that started NASCAR. And Van was a huge NASCAR fan. And he's the one that took us to Talladega. Okay? He drove a 68 Cougar and liked to race himself. So he reunited with his mom. He had a stepbrother. Okay? And where did he move? Where does the founder of NASCAR live? Daytona Beach, Florida, where they have the Daytona 500. So Van now lives in Daytona. Isn't that a good story?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And he's the biggest NASCAR fan that I knew, prior to all this. You know what I mean? Like, love it. And then his mom.
So you guys went to
Bill
Talladega?
French. Huh?
Did you guys go to Talladega because he knew his mom was going to be?
No, this was before he knew who his mom was. Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, good story. Van, good story. Hope to see him in October. All right, so, Van, if you're watching this. All right, so that's a positive byproduct of prohibition. Here's another one. The mob, the organized crime, okay? Guys, when we legalized alcohol again, they could have just gone into more illicit drugs, like illegal drug trade. But I think we got to give them props. They didn't do that. Okay? What they did with that hundreds of millions of dollars that they made during Prohibition, some of it went as seed money in the desert of Nevada.
Going to Nevada.
What? Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay, so, guys, gambling in the United States was illegal. Why? Four-letter acronym. The WASPs, okay, these Protestants, no gambling, okay? No. Sin, okay? And so what you do with this money that you make from prohibition is you buy off some politicians in Nevada and you say, listen, we'd like you guys to pass a law where you allow gambling in the state of Nevada. Okay? So they buy off these politicians, they create a new law where you can have it, and then the money that they made from prohibition, they will use as seed money to build the first casinos in Las Vegas. So, any of you guys ever been to Vegas? Okay. What do they call Vegas? Sin City. Okay. I've only been to the airport. And you can see the strip from the airport. Okay, which looks kind of cool. I've never been. None of you guys have been. I had 7 people for second hour that have been to Vegas. Okay. What happens in Vegas, right? Stays in Viva! That's Elvis. Huh? Oh, yeah?
My computer in here.
I don't know.
Jeez, dude, come on, get your stuff together.
What, is it over? Did you plug it in or something?
No, we need it for class, and I thank you.
You might wanna
Sorry
keep-
for the interruption.
It's all right. You might want to keep track of that.
I
You
will.
need to tuck your shirt in too.
I'll get that tucked in.
See you later.
Thanks, man. All right. So maybe another positive byproduct. Okay. All right. So guys, really, a lot of crime, a lot of violence with this. There was no way to really enforce the law. Okay. People didn't respect it. Okay. Just like, 19-year-olds that are vaping right now don't respect the law. Anybody not respect speed limits? Oh, wow.
You're going up really fast.
Golly. Yeah, I'm a serial offender. Yeah. All right, let's move to the 19th Amendment. So, as I mentioned earlier, guys, great times of social change can take place after a major war. Okay. The 19th Amendment, obviously, this is women's suffrage, something they've been fighting for a long time. And with the contribution of women during the war, especially going into the workplace, helping us mobilize for victory, mobilize for the war, President Wilson came out in support of this constitutional amendment when he said, I see nothing wrong with giving half the population the right to vote. Because I don't know if you ever thought about it this way, but literally, guys, half the population of the United States was not allowed to vote. Okay, so I don't know about you, that just doesn't seem right. Okay, so women will be able to participate if they register to vote. And the first presidential election that they will be able to vote in will be the 1920 presidential election. Okay, so easy ways to remember these amendments. Okay? This prohibition amendment has nothing to do with the drinking age, correct? It's all alcohol. But is it legal to drink at 18? Today? No. So it's prohibited 18-year-olds. Which amendment repeals this one in 1933? The 21st makes it legal to drink alcohol in the United States again. When you're 21, are you legally allowed to drink alcohol? That's an easy way to remember. Yes? And then with women's suffrage, you can just remember, women didn't get the right to vote until 1900 or 1920. Okay? You just remember 1900s. Okay? So, I love this little picture right here. People protesting. I mean, if you're going to protest, I mean, really, let's protest over something that matters. Okay. All right.
You wouldn't have been part of that protest?
Oh, I would have. 15 we get out?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, hey, real quick. The women are going to elect this guy. Warren G. Harding. Okay. All right. Hey, like and subscribe.
Like start reposting.